but the top end starts diminishing. There was a group of youths that they used to congregate outside a tobacconist, and they were causing problems and fights and arguments and picking on people and intimidating people. So the owner, this is going back years and years and years now, started researching it. And if you want to go and move them on, you've got to front them up, and then there's problems. You're going to get, reprisals, or you'll end up in a fight. So he didn't want all that, so he started researching it, and he came up with this little product called a mosquito. And what happens is the mosquito plays I think it was about 17 or 18 kilohertz frequency. So it's a very high pitch. And he plugged it in and put it outside the shop. Now, the adults that were coming in, like 30s, 40s, even 20s, couldn't hear it because their hearing had dropped below 18 kilohertz. But the kids, all the 14, 15 and 16-year-olds could hear it because their hearing was up to 18 kilohertz. So, and after that, they couldn't stand it anymore. They all dispersed. And I think it's still for sale now. So that shows you we can't see or hear everything that's going on. And if you asked one of these 30-year-olds, can you hear a frequency? Their perception would say no, but the frequency's there because the kids can hear it. And that's what reality is all about. We can't perceive things, but that doesn't mean to say they're not there.
Yeah, right. I can hear that, yeah.
Now, when I started doing my research into like age differences, a lot of it has to do with slow wave sleep, which is deep sleep. Now, deep sleep and slow wave sleep is very, very important to us. As babies to young children and everything, they get plenty of deep sleep and they get plenty of slow wave sleep. And that's because it's an important time in their life where they need to develop and everything. But after you hit around 20, that's when it starts to kind of like level out. And after you get into your older years, it actually diminishes. So you have that going on. That's a part of it. And then like when you guys were talking there, that made me want to go into the next area I think that's important that needs to be discussed. Now, I know you guys would understand the whole concept of the source. Everybody knows that is if they're into spirituality, especially spiritualism, like you guys are into. But have you guys done any research into the concept of the Axis Mundi?
No, that's not something that I've stumbled across, to be honest.
Now, the Axis Mundi is basically the same concept as the source when it comes to. Well, you guys understand what the source is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But with the Axis Mundi, this is the source where all information is sent to and it's sent out of. You know what I mean? So, like if you have raw data in the cosmos, it's sent to the Axis Mundi where it's actually turned into the material world. You know what I mean? It's converted over into what it is that we consider the material world. So it's basically like a processing center is the way I see it. Everything goes through this Axis Mundi or the source. And like you take a look at old empires that had fallen, okay? They didn't vanish or disappear. What happened is that information was sent to the source or the Axis Mundi, and it was changed into something else. So if you take a look at like the Roman Empire, it fell, right? But it was reborn as the Holy Roman Empire later on. You see, so nothing truly ever vanishes. It's just reconditioned into something new. Those are the kind of things that I've been learning when it comes to this source. You know what I mean? Nothing is really ever gone. It's just changed into something else. And that's really what sticks out to me with what you guys were just talking about. What's your guys' thoughts on that?
Do you want to go first, John?
Yeah.
No, yeah, I can actually believe that to be true, because I think I read a book when I was young called The Mystic Spiral, and they said that everything comes back repeated. It's like a constant cycle, like of our own developments. Say with something we have to learn from a certain event and we don't learn it, that event will go away, but in some form it'll come back in another form in the future, and you maybe deal with it a different way, maybe the right way, and when you do it the right way, then it stops coming back. It's gone, it vanishes. So I think from what you just said there is the development of, like, maybe say like the Roman Empire and different things before that, which failed, has gone back, and it'll come back in a different form again in the future, and it'll maybe in a greater form, maybe it'll be in a better form, who knows, or maybe it'll be doomed to fail again, who knows. But I do think, yeah, that does make sense, because it's all energy, it's all like got to go somewhere, hasn't it, you know? Because I've learned that even rocks you could pick up from just go outside now and pick up a rock. If you're tuned to it, you can sense what this rock's been through. You can sense that it's been through. Like, I held a rock a few weeks ago, and I knew that at some point that rock used to kill someone. Maybe it was bigger rock back then, but I knew it had. I could feel it, and it was like, whoa, this is really. And I thought to myself, hang on a minute. So if this rock is holding this residue for maybe thousands of years or whatever, it's got to be all around us. Maybe not the new buildings, but all the negative and good stuff. It's still everywhere. It's still around us. It's in the, especially in old buildings and stuff. There must be so much negative and positive maybe energy in the fabric of the building still, because it's like they've never left. It's still there, you know, and it makes you think, you know. But I think once, let's say, an old building is destroyed, then all that energy goes up and is brought back in some other way again. So that just makes perfect sense to me. Yeah, so that's my take on it. It's a bit out there. There we are.
I listened to a David Icke podcast where he said that strange things started happening to him, and he went to Stonehenge and he could feel vibrations in his feet, and he could start to feel different vibrations from people and things after that point, and he started to understand things a lot deeper. So we were going past Stonehenge on the way to holiday, so we popped in there, and I had this in my mind, so I thought I'll conduct a little experiment, and I won't tell anybody else that I'm doing this, but my wife is quite open to, as most women are, to be honest with you, because they're right brain, which is the subconscious side. They're open to different feelings and gut feelings and slight, what we would call knowledge, that they don't know, but they do know, if you know what I mean. They shouldn't be able to know this, but they do. So we walked around Stonehenge, and I stopped. I can't feel any of these vibrations that he was talking about. So I said to my wife, I want to ask you a question now, and don't feel silly, just tell me what you think. She said, okay. So I said, can you feel anything? So she went, I can feel a vibration in my feet, which is exactly, almost word for word, what David Icke said. Now, in my mind, I went, that's that then. That's proven that in my mind, that she's come out with the same thing that he's come out. And I never told anybody that I was doing this little experiment. But vibrations from everything around you is It's everything. It's the reason things accumulate is because of vibration. The reason the atoms accumulate into particular shapes is vibration, and it's only vibration. If you look at what's the word, cymatics. If you look at cymatics on YouTube, there are guys there with a sheet of metal, very thin sheet of metal, and a bow from a violin, and they sprinkle either sand or salt, very, very small particles of things. They sprinkle it on the sheet of metal, and then they rub the bow down the side so the metal vibrates, and it goes like this, and you see reality creating in front of yourself. These small particles of sand or salt accumulate into separate shapes, and if you look at these shapes, and if you keep doing different notes, you can see the resemblance between those and the windows, not stained glass windows, the windows in a church, the circular windows they have. You can start seeing the shapes that are appearing. And if you go back to the Egyptians, they understood this. They understood matter. With them, it was through the use of hallucinogenic drugs, because they was all into their consciousness. They were very into their consciousness. When you first take a glance at the Egyptians, they seem to be fixated with death. But the more you understand them, the more it comes to light that they're not fixated with death. They're accepting death and what goes on after that, because they mapped it, this afterlife. They're accepting that as reality, and they were actually fixated with what we call reality. They're saying there's a big divide between the two. That's real, this isn't. That's the gist of it. And quantum physics is only just coming to that conclusion now. But everything's vibration, everything.
Yep. And I wanted to straighten it out too. What I was talking about with the waves is theta, and then the other one that's really important that I was just discussing was delta waves. Now, when you guys were talking about age groups and things like that, delta waves are that, and it's very important for children when they're growing up early in life to have an abundant amount of delta waves, which concerns vibrations like you guys are talking about. And later on in life, that's when older people don't tend to have as many delta waves activity going on in their brains. And they, I found some pretty good list of some of the stuff that really sticks out when it comes to natural, they call them oscillations, that happen within and phenomenon, but it happens within nature. That includes animal migrations, Circadian cycles of planets, cyclical low frequency patterns such as oceanic waves, climate oscillation, and then geophysical rhythms that mirror the concept of delta-like periodicity is what they say in it. That's basically all of the stuff that's involved in delta waves. And this is something that really sticks out to me when it comes to hearing everybody speak about, vibrations and stuff. Like, this is actual scientific fact. You know what I mean? This isn't me making things up. You can actually go on the internet and research this yourself, and you can see it right there in plain black and white. There's nothing mysterious about this, and it all connects. You can literally see it.